Hey guys, welcome to episode 6 of Operation PlayStation, powered by Audio Technica. I'm one of your hosts, Dash, along with my co-host, Mr. Jeremy Braditich. How are you, dude?
Very well, man. How are you?
Yeah, doing good, you know. It's another week. I'd say another jam-packed week full of PlayStation, but Jesus Christ, is it dry in the world this week?
Yeah, but it's not. It's another day where we get to talk about other random obscure PlayStation things and wrap that in the lens of tangentially related to a news story.
Oh Lord, it really, like, we just had to go through the news, like, to set up our doc this week. And the funny thing is, I was talking with Max from Max Cooper from the Pop Culture is for the Plays podcast, and I was helping them out as well last week. We were watching the wrestling, and during the show, he was like, "I better do the doc." I'm like, and he's like, "I can't find any news." And I was like, "I'll help you out." Bone dry. I was like, shit, what's going to happen for Ops on Tuesday? So, here we are, and it's a weird gathering of news, that's for sure, but it's the best we could do. So,
and I have a question for you related to that. Yep. How many episodes will it take before we get to directly reference David Lynch's PlayStation 3 commercials? How many episodes are we away from that? Like 4?
I'm gonna say up to episode 10.
Yeah, episode 10 is when we're gonna be able to naturally link David Lynch's PS3 commercials to that. All right, sweet, cool.
That'd be fantastic. I'm
looking forward to it.
David Guys, Lynch, if you didn't know, this is Operation PlayStation-Gamer.com's dedicated PlayStation podcast, where we dive deep and dirty and discover what the latest and greatest PlayStation have to offer in 2021. If you like what you hear today, make sure that you follow us over on Anchor, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Keep going to iTunes. Give us those cheeky 5. It hasn't been. How long has it been since it's been iTunes? Like 2 years?
A long time. Years.
Cheeky 5-star ratings. That surely help us out. And also catch the VOD over on dashgamer.com and on YouTube. Subscribe, hit that bell, give us a like, leave us a comment. It surely helps us out. Make us your number 1 PlayStation destination in Australia. Jez, have you got any housekeeping?
Yeah, I literally recorded Minimapcasts about a couple hours ago.
Nice.
It's a fun one, and the other episode previously went out last Friday. So I'm trying to think of what obscure things I spoke about in that one. We spoke about what games have the most oomph. Oomph, because we were saying that Back 4 Blood didn't quite have that much oomph, and we wanted more oomph. So we were talking about oomph in video games.
That's where we're at the moment. Oomph in video games.
That's what we're doing. Lockdown 6, baby. You're talking about oomph in games.
Fantastic. It sounds like an awesome episode. So make sure you guys head on over to minimap.com.au and check that one out. For dashgamer.com, we've got a bit up at the moment, actually. Quake Enhanced review is up right now, thanks to the kind folk over at Bethesda. Actually, the PlayStation 5 does not suck. It's a rebuttal piece that I wrote up in an opinion feature that I wrote up in rebuttal to inputs. Ryan Houlihan, who wrote, the PS5 sucks, actually. So this was my rebuttal to him. It's a respectful piece. It's one that I do agree with him in some regard. I just don't agree that it completely sucks. So make sure you guys head on over. I do have a link in the article to his original piece. So before you read mine, please read his. They're both really good. So check them out. Necrobarista, final pour review, thanks to the kind folk over at Route 59. Tales of Arise, first impressions, thanks to the kind folk over at Bandai Namco, who supplied a preview code for that one. The Xbox Show episode 3 is now live on podcast feeds and also on dashgamer.com. Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster review, thanks to the kind folk over at Bandai Namco. Persona 5 anime analysis, thanks to the kind folk over at Madman, who supplied early review copies of the collector's edition on those as well. Neo, The World Ends With You review, thanks to the kind folk over at Square Enix. And later on in the week, I have 2 reviews from me personally. One of them would be Greek, thanks to kind folk over at 5-Star, and Psychonauts, thanks to kind folk over at Xbox. So make sure you guys check those out.
At what point in the entire past 2 weeks did you go to sleep and eat and breathe? And no, it just didn't.
I don't sleep.
Like,
that is common knowledge. I don't sleep.
Right, okay. Cool.
But it's one of those things too where a lot of those reviews I didn't write personally myself. Some of them have been done by our freelancers, thankfully.
Cool.
And I got to actually commend a lot of the freelancers on the website at the moment. They're really picking up the load right now. So thank you so much. They're
awesome,
very hard workers. These guys also have full-time jobs and come home and write for the website as well. And I can't thank them enough. They've been doing an excellent job writing these reviews. So, for me personally, it's been a huge help because obviously starting the website, I was doing it all on my own before. It's just a big help. But it is common knowledge that I don't sleep. So, So there you go. There's a little bit of knowledge for you. So.
Guys, one final question.
Yeah.
What ends with you? Did you write the review?
I did actually, yeah.
What is it? Is it up?
It is up.
What did you think?
Fantastic.
Awesome. Cool.
One of the best games of the year.
Is it Kingdom Hearts?
No. So the funny thing is, it's not Kingdom Hearts. It's Persona. Yeah.
You want to run that?
I know. But honestly, that was the. Do you remember when it was announced? That was the big kerfuffle when it was first announced that, this looks too much like Persona 5. It's not that it looks too much like Persona 5. It has a lot of Persona 5 vibes to it.
Wow, okay. All right.
But that's the only real way you could have translated the original World Ends With You to Neo.
Yeah.
And kind of, keep it within its lore. So it is a little... Look, Persona fans will love it.
Okay.
The World Ends With You fans will absolutely adore it because it's...
Awesome, cool.
Yeah, it's for them. So
cool.
Guys, we're not going to waste any more time today. We're going to jump right into the news. Jez, the first bit of news comes by way of... It's actually pulling up and loading. There we go. Brody Gibbons over at Press Start, who says, Saints Row Reboot looks like it'll be announced at Gamescom. He goes on, a couple of years after THQ Nordic confirmed they were working on a new entry in their Saints Row series, it seems likelier than ever that we're going to finally see the game officially revealed next week at Gamescom opening night live. The tease came by way of the event's hosts and organizer Jeff Keighley, who had this to say on his Twitter, and he goes on, quote, 5 days until Gamescom, hashtag opening night live on Wednesday. We are, quote, bossing it with our announcement this year. And it has a bit.ly/boss it. See you live Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2 p.m. Eastern time, 7 p.m. British Standard Time, and 8 p.m. Central Eastern Standard Time. And that's all American and, British time that I just listed there. So, sorry, that's Central European Standard Time. I got that wrong. It's less than subtle, but it looks as though this next Saints Row game might be a reboot for the franchise, which hasn't seen an entry of any kind since 2015's Get Out of Hell expansion. Whether this means an entirely clean Keith David-less slate remains to be seen. Yeah, I remember Get Out of Hell when it first released. I was actually privy to an early preview copy of that one back in 2015 because of my job that I was working at the time.
Yeah.
It was a shit game.
Yeah.
I'm glad that they're now taking the initiative to actually reboot Saints Row because, man, Let me tell you, that series has been in dire need of a reboot hard.
Oh, hasn't it just? I remember playing Saints Row 2 a ton on my PS3 and really, really liking that game.
Yeah.
Saints Row 3 I enjoyed quite a lot as well, but anything after that I was just like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah.
From
1 to 2 when they were it seemed like competition to GTA.
Yeah.
It did have some silliness to it. It did have a little bit of a parody to it, but nothing that kind of went overboard. When Saints Row hit, it was like, what is this game?
Yeah.
They honestly they did not know. I felt like they were kind of parodying themselves afterwards.
Yeah, they did the Simpsons thing where they suddenly became the thing that they were parodying. And it like it just got like, and it was like it wasn't even funny, and it wasn't even cute, and there was no level of like self critique or anything that was happening there. It was just like, it just wasn't anything at that point.
No.
Are you interested in a reboot?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
In dire need of a reboot, because look, I am interested because I loved the first two games. When it started to get into the third, I could see that it was a problem. I was look. A lot of people will argue, the third kind of did that because they wanted to stray away from being considered the GTA supplement. And sure. I respect that. And as much as I can respect that, a lot of people were still viewing it that way regardless. It doesn't matter whether they wanted to kind of become a parody of itself or even just kind of portray this cartoonish version of a GTA. The problem is when GTA wasn't around and the new Saints Row came around, people kind of were, like almost immediately attracted to the new Saints Row.
Yeah.
When Saints Row, when its final entry, the mainline one, number 4 came out, before Get Out of Hell, people were too enamored with GTA 5. It wasn't going to do anything.
Yeah.
And for them to even tout it, to even say, oh, get ready for the new Saints Row 4, nobody cares. Nobody cares. Because I remember a lot of faithful fans, a lot of devout fans were like, this is not Saints Row, when they were playing Saints Row 3. And when they went to Saints Row 4, it's better than Saints Row 3, but it's still not Saints Row.
And then after all of that, then they were like, okay, cool, we've got this brand new game coming out featuring all your favorite characters from Saints Row. It's called Agents of Mayhem. Who's ready to play some? And it was just like, you'll need to just take a break from this. This ain't it.
Yeah.
This isn't it.
I still am in awe of how Saints Row really was. Like, a lot of people even said at one point with Saints Row 2, like, Saints Row 2 has always been considered the best out of the entire franchise.
Yep.
And to some degree, it still pretty much is.
Yeah.
But to see the demise of this franchise, it really was saddening, because it really did offer something different to what GTA was. Saints Row kind of had more customization. It had a lot more in terms of it had a broader spectrum in terms of what you could do.
Yeah.
GTA 5, when that came around, though, killed it. Like, it just was like, Saints Row shut it down.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm definitely interested in seeing a reboot. What about yourself?
Yeah, sure. Like, I'm not sitting here going, the world needs Saints Row. That's one thing that the games industry is missing right now is, like, another awful gangsters game. Everybody being awful. And don't get me wrong, Saints Row was always very funny with a lot of that stuff, and I did enjoy 2 and 3. Look, sure, why not? Like, if it's something a bit fresher and something a bit different, and if it's an answer to the level of, like, dire, like, unhappiness that a lot of the GTA 5 campaign brings, then yeah, I'd be down for that.
Yeah. I think here's the other issue, cool, that they're bringing out, or they're even considering this reboot. But GTA 5 is still, like, the number 1 most selling game, and that's one thing I wanted to kind of start doing on the show, as well as actually listing the top sellers of PlayStation Network. We'll get to that in a future episode, but this week it was the number 1 most sold on PlayStation Network again.
It's been up there for such a long time, and I wonder if the folk over at Deep Silver are like, I can't believe the next Saints Row we're going to release is going to be still competing with the same GTA.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
Because the thing is, it's just a remaster, but they're still bringing out new content for it. who knows when the next GTA will be out? Like, I don't think they're even considering it right now.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Let's move on to the next one. Next one comes by way of Sammy Barker over at Push Square, who says, PlayStation Studios boss says, I encourage our teams to be fiercely daring. I have no clue what this means, but yeah, right.
Yeah.
Sony has established itself as one of the best publishers in the video game business, but also one of the most daring. Titles like to name a few. The Last of Us Part 2, Returnal, and God of War are not simply brilliant, but they're also disruptive and bold. PlayStation Studios boss Herman Hulst's job is to ensure that the company retains that level of creativity, and speaking with Games Informer, he explained that he, quote, encourages our teams to be fiercely daring in their choices, end quote. He continues, I think that our teams have been really brave, and that's not just with entire franchise pivots, but it's also going to Norse mythology on God of War. It's The Last of Us Part 2's narrative structure and creating an experience that is incredibly compelling, but not necessarily comfortable for the player at all times, end quote, he said. And he goes on, I back that. Holst continued that his goal for PlayStation 5 to, quote, push the envelope and seek boundaries of our medium and the state of art of storytelling, end quote. He concluded, quote, I think that is why we do what we do with PlayStation, end quote. I mean,
you reckon?
I mean, there's a goal, yes. I don't know whether it's necessarily pushing boundaries that. I see. This is again, it's a subjective kind of deal. Like, to say that they're trying to kind of say, oh, you know, I'm encouraging our teams to be fierce and daring. That sounds more like a marketing strategy than anything. Like, it's like, yeah, I mean, like, what are we doing? What are they doing now that isn't already daring enough? I mean, look at The Last of Us Part 2.
Yeah.
The content that was in that as well. I had a conversation the other night with somebody about The Last of Us and The Last of Us Part 2 and the differences between the two games, and how daring it was for them to kind of change the narrative in the second part to just kind of like fit, like, how to put this? I don't want to make it sound like I'm one of those anti Last of Us Part 2 people or anything. But Druckmann, when he changed the narrative, are you an anti? Are you?
I'm not anti. Like, I had issues with that game.
Okay, cool. No, that's fine.
Like, yeah,
as long as it's constructive.
Well, I mean, yes, yeah, no.
All right, please.
I'm not.
I'm curious. Go on.
Okay. I think that game's messaging around what the world is and how humans work is fundamentally wrong. And I think Druckmann's take on what people do in acts of desperation is flawed to a point that I don't think there's any recovery for that franchise. A lot of The Last of Us 1 and 2, more so 2 in this regard, speaks about how when put in that situation, humans will lash out and like attack each other before they will like find common interests and band together. Which is why there are so many, you know, awful villainous characters in like The Last of Us, you know, whether it's Joel or whether it's the Jeffrey Wright's character in that game as well. You know, like there are some terrible people in that game, and at the end of the day, the reason humanity exists in the way it does right now is because we do over time come together and not lash out and kill each other as a default. And a lot of The Last of Us 2 felt like it was saying that to me. That like humans are a lot more
nasty.
But like also like murderous and like will one up each other at the first chance. Which is not quite.
You mean just a lot less actually, a lot more instinctive than thoughtful?
Yeah, like as if nature was to attack rather to love.
Yeah.
And it never felt like natural. It felt disingenuous.
Okay.
a lot of the time. As well as I think a lot of the game is very good, but I felt like they hid characters' intentions in ways that was pulling a fast one that I don't know if they quite earned.
Yeah.
The final act reframes the entire game. The final cutscene reframes a lot of the main story of the entirety of Last of Us Part 2.
Yeah.
But in a way that I felt like a lot of the time I was wondering why the entire time, and you telling me why after I've seen everything doesn't actually make me enjoy me being confused for a lot of the game about why. I was going
to say, do you think that maybe that's due to the fact that a good chunk of the story that we don't know of, like between the events, like I'm talking like the initial
Sure.
game, the first one,
Mm-hmm.
between the 20 years that we don't see, do you think that because that portion is essentially missing from what we know, we don't see a lot of it. Like we don't see what goes down pretty much after the death of spoilers if you haven't played the first one, you've had ages now. Come on, hurry up.
It's a bit late now. Yeah.
The death of Joel's daughter, from the events from that to when he wakes up from that nightmare. Do you think that like having like just completely blanked that out and just having that credit, like we see the event, we see a credit scene with like news stories that tell us about it, like very very basic. But then we get to the point 20 years later where Joel wakes up from a nightmare, and it's like in between that blank section, we really don't understand what's happened. Do you think that because we don't get that story at that between that time, it's kind of like, why is humanity against each other?
To a lesser extent, they didn't. I don't think they got into it as much in 1 as they do in 2.
Yeah.
Because like a lot of like 1's like world politics are pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
There's like there's the villainous authoritarian police force, and then there's the resistance that is fighting against that, but you don't quite know where they stand in a lot of things, and and there's everyone caught in the middle. Whereas like in 2, there was like nearly no one that you were rooting for aside from Abby well after the fact, but like it felt so like I didn't quite know who I was supposed to like be in, like it not even enjoy, like not even root for, like just like follow through the story. And I'm not against following a villain's arc, but I think most of the best villain stories, not all, most of the best villain stories tend to have a reason, a crux, or a like something telling the audience why they're feeling this way, why they're acting this way, why they might be lashing out at a people or someone or society or whatever, right? And the Ellie's intentions in The Last of Us Part 2 were hidden in a way that was so I wonder what that game would have felt like if it was all in order, or at least more in order.
Yeah.
And also I thought the boss fight was really bad.
2 questions then.
Yes.
First one would be, who's the villain in The Last of Us?
I mean, like it is like Ellie until the end, right? Like, the final act sort of like shows that. Like it's not she's not a clear dry, villain.
Yeah.
And far less than Joel.
Yeah.
But still is acting that way. There's that moment of quiet you get 2/3 through the game, which a lot of people thought was the end.
Yeah.
And then suddenly there's a whole nother section of the game because the story's not over. That would have been her turning point, whether or not she was going to become one or not. And I feel like that was it. Like that was her deciding to go down that path, which is a lot of that game, revenge and all that stuff, right?
Yeah. This is I gotta say, this is a good take, like interesting take, because I've never heard this kind of take on it before, so it's very intriguing to me. The second part of the question, second question I have for you is: would you not perceive that Druckmann and the Naughty Dog team being daring in that front to, like you said it yourself, like humanity doesn't seem like it would go that way. Maybe the idea that it could potentially head that way was something that they envisioned when they were creating Last of Us and writing it. Do you not think that that could be a daring depiction of what would be if that event would somehow occur?
I don't quite know if it's daring. I think it's a direction that, you know, a lot of movies and media have gone down games.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know if daring is the right word, because it's been done. It's not like it's a new thing. You know, you can look at Dying Light, or you could look at you know, like a lot of other zombie media do the same thing, because it's an interesting playground to build a story in, and it's almost a comfortable playground for a zombie apocalypse, which is multiple factions. It's the Walking Dead, fight the dead, fear the living sort of thing. And they like, I'm not going to say it's daring. I'm going to say it served that story. I think there could have been more daring ways they could have done that story.
I think that, like, what
I'm not a game developer. I also don't make millions of dollars making these games. So
I think
what
what
do I know?
Hoss is kind of coining here, instead of like, I don't think he's just using default language in terms of like layman's terms, just to kind of push it, like saying, I'm trying to inspire our team to be creative as possible. I think what he's using is a lot more marketing vocab. Like, he's using a lot more marketing terms to kind of push it out there, like saying, I'm pushing them to be as daring as possible in terms of what they can bring to the table. So when you read between the lines, I'm telling them to be as creative as possible so that we can sell these games, and make people invested. So I can understand what he means when he says fierce and daring, and all that's just pushing it, like just grinding it into, like ingraining it into people's head. Sony is trying to be daring.
Yeah, and like this goes into what we've spoken about in the past, where what they mean when they say that is they mean cutting edge.
Yeah.
And they mean they do mean prestige. Like, they mean like, hey, what we're gonna have is gonna be such a high quality, a high bar of quality, because we have the resources and the creative freedom to give you stories you wouldn't necessarily be able to experience anywhere else. And often that is because a lot of the time, like, they just have the highest budget in games.
Yeah.
And so they can tell stories that go on for an exorbitant amount of time, like The Last of Us Part 2, or like God of War, which those stories are incredibly long.
Yeah.
And that's because a lot of the time studios just don't have the budget to do a story that long. And so he's not necessarily wrong, but I think seek the boundaries of our medium and the state of the art of storytelling is maybe a little bit, it's a little bit uppity. When there are, you know, games like Outer Wilds, for example, or like other, even 12 Minutes, which just came out. Like, both of those games tell stories in very, very different ways that is very, very difficult to pull off. But yeah, like, you know, he's not wrong. And and he's in charge. He was previously in charge of, you know, Horizon Zero Dawn, which I think told an incredible story very, very well. So
I guess, like I said, it's just vocab. It's talk, it's speak, it's marketing, it's commercializing, and that's fine.
Of course.
But I think you've hit the nail on the head on a lot of stuff there. So we'll move on to the next one. This one comes by way of Sammy Barker as well from Push Square, who says, Sony investing in external Japanese development group, a core part of PlayStation's identity. He goes on, Sony effectively shuttered Japan studio earlier this year, retaining Astro's Playroom developer Team Asobi and expanding into a fully fledged first-party team. Many, however, feel that PlayStation is turning its back on its home nation, with Gran Turismo 7 maker Polyphony Digital being its only other group based in Japan. That's not true, according to PlayStation Studios boss Herman Holst. Once again, Herman Holst here again. Quote, I will say that we are in some ways very much a Japanese company still, end quote, he told Game Informer. Quote, that's our heritage. that's still part of who we are. We love our Japanese games, end quote. Holst explained that in addition to Team Asobi and Polyphony Digital, that the platform holder is also investing in an external development unit. Quote, we are investing in our external development group out of Tokyo as well. And that's a team that has obviously worked with the likes of From Software and Kojima Productions, end quote, he continued. Quote, so we are very invested in Japanese development, and Japanese development is something that we love. I think that it's such a core part of PlayStation, such a core part of the PlayStation identity that I can't ever see us shy away from Japanese or even Asian development, end quote. It goes on, we know that Sony XDev is now a global operation and has been hiring quite heavily in Tokyo and Japan. All of this means that we should hopefully see plenty of PlayStation published projects come out of the country over the course of the coming generation. Okay, so there was an interesting tweet that went out by I can't remember his name, Lance
McDonald.
Lance McDonald, that's right. Where he posted a picture of a couple of Japanese PlayStation 2 games that he invested in, and one of the first responses, you saw this, didn't you?
I did see this.
Yeah, one of the first responses on that thread was, "This is when PlayStation were a Japanese development company." Has PlayStation become westernized? Like, I think so. But hold on, before anything, yeah, okay. Yeah. I'll state this, and I'll let you have you go. But I'm saying, sure, like, when I look at it, and I look at some of the titles that I play on PlayStation, yeah, sure, I'm surrounded by a lot of JRPGs, but I look at a lot of first parties, and I'm like, wow, okay, I can't remember the last time I played a first party title that didn't feel like an Uncharted or a Last of Us, that inspired kind of title.
Yeah, like the last time I think I'm having to go back to like, well, I mean, like, yeah, like last one I guess was Bloodborne, but that wasn't even theoretically first party. That was just like a deal. Yeah, it's been a hot minute. I'm gonna look up quickly PS5 games. Yeah. Yeah, like
here we go. Ghost of Tsushima. I mean that's a sucker punch.
Yeah.
Bellevue, America. So that's one with Ratchet and Clank, again, Insomniac, same area, California. Demon Souls, Blue Point, California. The Final Fantasy VII remake. I mean, it's not first party, but it's exclusive.
I think that does fit in with old Sony though. One, because it's Final Fantasy VII, but also because it's like that is what they had for a long time. They definitely did have first party, like Japanese developed first party games. They had a ton of them. That's where Ape Escape and all that stuff came from.
Yeah.
But like, like a lot of what I think people's image of what Sony needs to be in their mind includes things like Metal Gear, includes Silent Hill, includes Final Fantasy, Kingdom Hearts to a lesser extent, Shadow of the Colossus, and most of those are not first party. They just were exclusive.
That's right.
And a lot of that comes from, like, honestly, a lot of that comes from back then. You were kind of developing for one console. Very rarely did you develop for more than one console at a time.
Yep.
And when you did, like, it was very, very rare that you did. Like, it was, Mortal Kombat's, I think, would do that, but like, I think even they staggered their releases a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So, like, I think, like, and don't get me wrong, they definitely have closed down a lot of their Japanese studios over the years. The article mentions that. I hope that they don't shutter all of those completely. I do wonder how well they're going with managing some of their smaller studios lately, because what it reminds me of is the amount of times that they started and opened and closed studios in the UK.
Yeah.
With like Studio Liverpool and all of those ones. They were just like opening and closing, it felt like every other week, because they just couldn't we don't know what happened there.
Yeah.
Like it was.
It could have been. It
never
could have
really
been
a public
funding.
thing.
It could have been management. Who knows?
It could have been. It could have been a lot of things. But they seem to have had next to no issues with all of the studios, specifically in California.
Yeah.
You know, they've got all the ones you mentioned, including Naughty Dog, including Studio Bend. You know, those are all specifically or maybe Bend's in Washington. Anyway, America. They're all like
I think it's all
around
California based, isn't it?
I don't remember where Bend is.
Well, I'll tell you now. Oregon.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Their American studios seem to be doing very fine, so I can understand why they would want to look at the studios that are doing very well and go, cool, well, we're going to invest there because like they're making us a ton of money. I
was going to say, you want to know where Bend was based? Bend Studio was based in Bend, Oregon.
Gotcha. Right. Okay.
Sorry. Go on.
Yeah, it's in the name. Yeah.
That's right.
Like, oh, but that reminds me. Where's Sony Santa Monica based?
I've got a hot tidbit for you, and that's go on.
Yeah. Like I hope that they can keep their like keep what Hall said. What he said his. I think it's such a core part of the PlayStation identity that I can't ever see us shy away from Japanese or even Asian development. Like, I would love for them to double down on that sort of stuff. The issue is a lot of that stuff doesn't sell as well in the West. You know, that definitely doesn't not sell at all because the Yakuza franchise, you know, proves that. But like a lot of the time they don't sell nearly as well as, you know, the flagpole Sony exclusives do in the West. So, and I think there's more competition over there as well, you know? Like, they're competing with a mobile market over there that is larger than life.
Well, that's the thing. Like, if you go to Asia now, it's all mobile market. And and realistically, let's be honest here. It's been predominantly that since Monster Hunter. When Monster Hunter came out for the PSP, that's all that anybody was playing. Like they were coming out with games on PS3, and then like they lost their market once Uncharted started like dominating the PlayStation 3. The PlayStation 4 when that came out, again, predominantly marketing westernized titles. If you remember, like if you go back to the PlayStation 4, you're thinking like I'm trying to think here, your Horizons, you know, we're talking like westernized gaming here, and again, we're going into PlayStation 5, and yes, Herman Hulse said it. Well, yeah, there might be a public image right now that says we're a westernized company. Yeah, no shit, because look at the games that are slated and have released already. They're all Western titles. So, like with a few exceptions, and we're talking first party, not like third parties here. Like Bandai Namco, obviously, will always bring out titles from Asia and all that because that's where they're based. But I'm saying like first party, they have shuttered Japanese studios out of their business. Like, and you said the Liverpool one, which went defunct in I think 2012. Even from there, it's almost like okay. So what kind of future does international studios have of PlayStation other than America? So.
Yeah, and like I think a lot of what they used to be able to rely on was that the console in Japan for the TV for a long time was the PlayStation. Yeah. Like there was GameCubes and there was Wii's and there was N64s and all that stuff. But they were not nearly as like you bought those for Nintendo games. You know, you didn't buy those for Monster Hunter. And then now Monster Hunter is on Switch, and PlayStation's games that used to be only on PlayStation are also now on Xbox. Yeah. And also on PC and mobile. But like that used to be the place where you would get Platinum games. Yeah. And now things have changed, like when the Xbox One first launched, you could still get those anywhere at any shop. And I think they sold something like 10,000 units in the first like a week or something. It was tiny amount of units. Yep. They did not crack Japan for a very, very long time over there, especially with the launch of the console that they had back then.
Jez, the next one comes by way, once again, Sammy Barker over at Push Square. He's doing good work over there. He says Sony patent points to dynamic evolving PS Store pages. He goes on, I like it or loathe it. The way that we play games is changing. Life cycles are longer than ever before, with seasonal updates keeping things fresh years after launch. It's something that Sony's paying close attention to and may influence the direction it takes the PS Store. A new patent spotted by Opatak and shared on Reddit introduces the concept of dynamic personalized product pages, which can change and evolve alongside the game. The abstract issued in May of this year outlines, quote, techniques for providing information and functionalities based on a video game lifecycle and user context, end quote. It goes on to demonstrate some examples showing a hypothetical racing game and its latest content. The information is contextualized with additional data, such as which friends you have played the title with. It's easy to see how this could be applied to examples. The Fortnite product page, for instance, could be themed around its latest battle pass and skins. PlayStation pulls an enormous chunk of its revenue through microtransactions in games. We already know about that. Anyway, so obviously this is a new marketing strategy. I'm going to say outright ploy to develop more cash flow, I guess. But it's also, this is something that I don't know whether this is new or anything in terms of wanting to, like, we see this now within multiple mediums and platforms out there anyway. PlayStation are just now starting to commercialize their stuff. And you brought it to my attention before we even began this, and I'll let you take the wheel here as I pull up this patent. You want to explain what this is?
So there was a patent that was brought out a while ago, which was I believe it was a way to skip ads. I'm just going to find the article that I found that patent from. Where what it was a way to get consumers integrated with ads, and the diagram shows a man sitting on the couch, a burger showing up on the TV that he's watching, with the TV saying to the man, "Say McDonald's" to end commercial. The man then standing up with both of his hands raised, saying the words "McDonald's,
praise McDonald's,"
and then he goes back to his TV show or his game. It's hilarious. It's like diagrams that look like shitposts.
Yeah.
Because it's just so ridiculous and so hilarious.
We're not going to start seeing ads in games, are we?
This patent's very, very old. I don't know. Well, actually, no, we are. Have you heard of a game called Fortnite?
Okay, fair enough. But what I'm saying is interruptive ads. We're not going to start seeing interruptive ads in games.
I doubt it. I doubt it, especially with how fast fucking loading screens are.
It's enough that mobile games do it.
I don't think we'll see it in console games.
What about free to play console games? Got you there, didn't I?
I don't know. I haven't thought about that, and I wish I wasn't, because that's an awful. That's an awful thing to think of. Okay, so I'm gonna say no, only because I think people are a lot less forgiving on when they're sitting on the couch, and I think also there are smarter ways of doing it. For games, there are ways that can actually make them more money than just making them sit through a 30-second ad they can't skip. Yeah. Battle passes and all that stuff. That I think that makes more money than like unskippable ads ever have.
Yeah.
In terms of percentages, so I would imagine that they're looking at that going, that's fine.
Well, we'll definitely see soon if they do implement that stuff. It'll suck if they do, but guess we'll have to make.
This store page is like a design.
It's old, but still, it doesn't mean that there's a patent there. You know what I mean? Like we've seen stuff that's years old in terms of patents and stuff that only pop up recently. So it doesn't. The conversation's there. You know what I mean? Like the conversation is there, and it doesn't stop them from saying, So,
and I think it's also worth pointing out as well that companies patent things all the time.
Oh yeah,
just to cover their ass in case they ever want to go back to it. But
that's right.
It's like there's 1,000,001 patents that have never ever been used and never will.
That's right.
Like what you're hearing today? Be sure to follow all Dash Gamer podcasts on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify by simply typing dashgamer.com into the search bar of your favorite podcast provider. And don't forget to check out our gaming, anime, and pop culture related news on dashgamer.com. Now back to the show.
Again, from Sammy Barker over at Push Square, who says PS5, PS4 Playtime website encounters turbulence as Sony bans accounts. He goes on, brilliant independent PlayStation Playtime website PS Time Tracker has encountered turbulence as Sony has banned all of its associated accounts. Members could voluntarily send a friend request to a PSN user in order to have their gameplay sessions logged by the website, but Sony nuked all of the associated usernames earlier this week. It's unclear whether this was a coordinated effort to try and impede the page's activities, but that's certainly how it looks from the outside. The website's independent owner is currently scrambling for a solution and has created a series of new accounts to try and remain operational. Of course, it's perfectly plausible that they will be banned too. While the website does predate the PS5, where Sony made it possible to see playtime data, it's arguably more accurate, and it includes overall data on which games are currently proving popular among PlayStation players. It'd be nice if the Japanese giant took some of the ideas and incorporated them into their own website, but we reckon there's more chance of pigs flying than that. Okay, so this is interesting because I usually, like, only have recent that I really have put my status on my PlayStation 5 as online when I do my gaming, appear online. But I've once again gone back to appear offline most of the time, and that's mainly due to the fact that, like, the amount of embargoes and NDAs I sign, it's just I don't have the time to be like, okay, let me check if I need to be appear online or offline on this, and so I keep, and and the same thing with my trophies. I keep them private because I just can't be bothered with the whole hassle of, hey, look at my trophies. I've got a big dick over here, so
that's what trophies are made for.
Hey man, that's essentially what a lot of people who tout their trophies do it for. So for me, it's one of those things where I can't be bothered. But the one thing I did notice on my game time that I played on some of these games, it doesn't log it if you don't appear online. And I was like, I have played more than a minute of... Sorry, no. I've played more than this small amount of time logged here of Ghost of Tsushima this week. It only comes up with, like, you've only played like a minute. And I'm like, no, I haven't. I've played like fucking 8 hours of it this week. Like, what the hell? Yeah. So if you do appear offline, it doesn't log it. And I'm like, okay, that is a weird bug. And I have emailed my concerns to PlayStation about it, and they're looking into it. But it's one of those things where even like Final Fantasy, there's 2 files. And I'm not talking about like, because you got the PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4 version. I remember pre-PlayStation 5 release, there were 2 separate log times on there. And one said, you've only been playing for a minute. And the other one said, I've been playing for like 172 hours or whatever. So for me, it was like, okay, there is a weird bug that's happening right now where if you appear offline, it doesn't log it, or it separates or splits. I don't know what it does, but something's wrong there. For this, though, this is a pretty cool feature, a neat feature that allowed you to view your playtime via this website.
Yeah.
But again, the fact that Sony are taking an initiative to say no, because it's a patent now that they have for their systems, I don't know. I think they've gone a little too far here.
Yeah, like you have to wonder what was the clinchpin decision for them to do it. The thing is, it's their system. They can do what they want with users there. It's up to their own discretion. Yeah. I do wonder what was the biggest reason that suddenly made them shift. Was it potential privacy? Was it potentially like a like, was it even just as simple as, like they're collecting data on our users that we don't control, and therefore it's within our best interest to shut it down to make sure something malicious doesn't happen.
Yeah.
If this if a PS Time Tracker gets hacked, for example, there's a chance they have a friends list of many, many, many people that info is potentially, there are real names on PlayStation accounts. It's probably just one of those things.
It could be a data collector. Yeah, who knows?
Yeah, so like I can imagine this is more of a
protecting
it's
their
not that
asses.
it's not that you're tracking playtime for everybody to see, but it's you're collecting data in a way that we don't actually own.
Yeah.
And we're gonna take you down before someone a lot more malicious comes along.
Yeah.
But it's a shame when this stuff happens. I literally checked my playtime data for 12 minutes the other day when I was talking to Kerry about it, and we were trying to figure out who's played longer in the game. And like just went on the Xbox app and it was right there.
It's so inaccurate though. That's the thing. Like on the PlayStation 5 system.
Yeah, the PS5 one is far more inaccurate.
It's so inaccurate. I can't remember what it logged me for Persona 5. Like it said something like 50 or so hours, but we know that's not true because I've also taken photos and posted that on my Twitter account that I've played more than 1,000 or so hours of Persona 5. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know why play okay. I can understand them wanting to protect their asses, especially after the PSN hack back in 2011, I believe it was. Of course. That was a big, major problem. That caused them a lot of lawsuits and stuff. But and yeah, this is something that if they believe that their infrastructure isn't strong enough to protect user data, this might be some cause of concern if you're looking at it from the outside. So I can understand where they're going with this. So shit happens. We have to deal with it. I guess we just got to live with it. So it doesn't matter. The next one comes by way of Shannon over at Press Start, who says, Skyrim Anniversary Edition is yet another Skyrim release with 500 community mods, including fishing. Nice. Bethesda has announced the Skyrim Anniversary Edition, which, by our calculations, puts Skyrim in a contention for the most re-released video game of all time. The new edition is releasing later this year on November 11th, and those that have the special edition of Skyrim will be able to upgrade by paying a small fee. It's releasing on PS5, PS4, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. The Skyrim Anniversary Edition includes 500 pieces of community content, including new quests, dungeons, weapons, bosses, spells, and more. But most importantly, you can now fish using an actual fishing rod rather than your hands. Good. Bethesda will reveal more about Skyrim Anniversary Edition in a special QuakeCon panel. Okay. I mean, I joked about this with you before we started. You can play Skyrim on a bloody TI-84 calculator these days. You can even, realistically though, you can actually play Skyrim on an Amazon Echo.
Oh, yeah, right. I remember that. Yeah.
So, how many more releases of this game do they need before they're content? I know that we know that they're working.
It must be so easy. It must just be so easy.
Oh yeah, yeah. We know that they're working on Elder Scrolls 6. That won't land here until 2029. Yeah. But it's now to a point where they know that they can sell 1 million copies of this because they can.
Yeah, yeah. The reason we threw it in is because it's a Microsoft game.
Oh, that's right. This is coming to PlayStation, and it's Bethesda.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. Weird, right?
Well, see, this is the thing. Again, with this guy, but you know what? This might be just something that they're we can make some more money if we release it on PlayStation because it's already out there on PlayStation. So who cares, right? Yes. If we don't release it on PlayStation, it's a bad look on us. It's a bad look on Xbox. We might as well put it out there. But then we talk about stuff like Starfield and look at that and go, well, that's exclusive to Xbox.
Yeah.
Even if the intention was to release it on PlayStation 5 in the first place.
Yeah.
You know, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's like I think there are a few things that would ever come to PlayStation under Bethesda being owned by Microsoft.
Yeah.
Skyrim would be one of those few things, Quake being another. But like, you know, that new Quake project they announced, Elder Scrolls 6, they ain't coming.
A QuakeCon.
Yeah.
Weird one. But yeah, no, look, cool. It's another little tidbit for people who have loved their Skyrim. I know a lot of people that are still playing like their 20th playthrough of Skyrim, which is just insane. Even people who are not game. I spoke to someone, not a gamer. They're playing like their 5th playthrough of Skyrim this lockdown.
Yeah, Skyrim is a very important game for a very, very large amount of people that are not even really big into games.
Yeah.
It's wild how something like that falls through the cracks and ends up in the mainstream in a way that people probably couldn't predict. Especially, you know, you look at the previous game, Oblivion. Who fuck played Oblivion? You know, people who are into Elder Scrolls games played Oblivion.
Yeah, I know.
You know, that didn't go into any mainstream.
Insane.
You a Skyrim person?
I was when it first came out.
Sure.
I try, like, you know, it's funny. I fell off it just before PSVR came out. Right. And then I tried it on PSVR because I thought, oh, this might get me back in. I might get interested. Nah, no chance.
No?
Nah. I didn't like it on VR at all.
You don't like shaking your hand as fast as you can to do 1 million damage really quickly?
Nah, not on VR, man. I tell you what, I get a lot of motion sickness, so VR was VR was out of the question for me on that one. But yeah, look, it's cool, it's fine, it's something for the people who love it. So that's awesome. Yeah, the next one comes by way of Jared Moore over at IGN, who says The Last of Us Part 2 includes scraped multiplayer files, possible battle royale reference. Data miners have unearthed a range of leftover assets from The Last of Us Part 2, which show off a range of multiplayer files, as well as a possible nod to what could have been a battle royale mode. The multiplayer assets were spotted by Speclizer. Oh god, these freaking Speclizer. There we go. It took me a second. Or Speclizer, whatever. Speclizer. I'll go with that. A data miner who posted the finds on a comprehensive video on their YouTube channel. A quote listen mode device end quote handheld TV end quote were found within the scrapped multiplayer assets, which may potentially have aided players' senses with the game. Okay. They also found a quote collar asset, which suggests that dogs could have featured in the game's multiplayer. Speclizer was also able to piece together assets that suggest that a multiplayer map could have been in production for the game that would have been large enough for a battle royale game style game mode. The data miner said that they also found a quote compass and quote player count in the development footage for the game, the latter of which is particularly prevalent in battle royale games. Assets linked to multiplayer equipment in the find suggests that players might have had access to tier-leveled armor, whilst this far from confirms that a battle royale was in production. It's a system similar in style that was used by Apex and PUBG, where players are granted varying degrees of health benefits by helmets and armored vests. There was a tweet by him that looks like it's been deleted since, but it says, there's a bunch of news articles coming out on my The Last of Us 2 multiplayer assets video, and I didn't get to show the armor, backpack, and helmet models in the video, so here's some screenshots. So it may have been deleted since, taken down by Naughty Dog or Sony, who knows.
Well, I've still got it here.
Oh, you still got it up? It's up?
Yep.
Let me try and pull... Let me see if it actually pulls up from this link here. Oh, yeah, it does. Okay, there you go. Let me just pull that up. Anyway, I mean, cool. We've already covered some Last of Us stuff, but this is interesting to see that it looks very Call of Duty-esque. But anyway, I don't know whether a battle royale would have been anything that I would have personally liked out of The Last of Us, especially considering that the multiplayer was a little monotonous. I think maybe the word tedious.
Maybe, like, I think, you know, because Naughty Dog did end up tweeting later on that, like, you know, while they're not doing Last of Us 2 multiplayer, they're doing the what do they say? Hang on, let me find it because it's in this article. You will be able to eventually experience the fruits of our team's online ambition, but not as part of Last of Us Part 2. When and where it will be realized is still to be determined, but rest assured, we are as big a fan of factions as the rest of our community and are excited to share more when it's ready. Naughty Dog. Mm-hmm. That, to me, honestly, them specifically using the phrase, our team's online ambition, actually, to me, does say, I reckon they're going to do a battle royale.
So that you think they're going to go ahead with it?
Maybe. I could see it, not a 100-person battle royale. Maybe more like an Apex where it's like a 60-person. And I think they'll tie in.
You think it's enough to rope people into it though? Like, you think it's enough to rope people back into The Last of Us Part 2?
I think it'll be separate.
Okay.
I don't think it might have The Last of Us name as a header, but like it won't be called The Last of Us Part 2 subtitle battle royale. I reckon it'll be called like, similar to like it'll be something else in the Last of Us franchise,
like Blackout.
Yeah, like Blackout, how that came with whatever Black Ops 4 and stuff. Like it'll be tour.
If it's separate, it will be free.
Free to PlayStation Plus members, I guess.
Yeah, I could see that.
Got to keep paying PlayStation Plus, but it's free for PlayStation Plus members. Like,
you think that's enough to
I reckon that's enough.
Okay.
It depends on if it's good though. Like The Last of Us multiplayer, while really enjoyed by diehard fans, I don't think it was ever really loved by like the wider community. Like it was fine when it came out, but when you think of Last of Us, you think of the stories. You don't think, I loved doing factions every night.
I didn't like factions.
Yeah.
I played it. I got hooked. I can't say that I liked it though.
Got hooked, but you didn't like it.
Yeah, I know it's weird to say that, but it's more that I had a group of friends who were playing it at the time, so it was more like just
fair enough.
Peer pressure. Like peer pressure, smoking, and all that kind of stuff. It's like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I think with Last of Us 2's combat, I think I would be more into it. Because playing as Ellie and Abby, like it's a lot more fluid. There's like you're a lot lighter a lot of the time. Less so when you're with Abby, but like you are. Joel's really heavy to control.
Yeah.
So I think I would be interested. I think doing stealth in a battle royale in the Last of Us engine would be pretty fun.
Yeah. I'm intrigued to see how they would output a battle royale. That's for sure. But
yeah.
I don't know. I think it's too. I think the Last of Us playstyle is too slow for a battle royale mode, especially for like what you just said, 100-person battle royale mode. Unless they change the playstyle entirely and you're playing it like the in-game, because the factions one, you creep around like you're just on your knees the entire time.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. We'll see what happens. I guess if it actually does come to fruition, you could be correct. I know that we know that multiplayer will eventually come out at some point, but
they're working on something. Like they've been hiring multiplayer like online developers.
If they're not working on the remake.
Yeah. Imagine if it's just a remake of Factions from 1.
Oh no, God no. Please. Like the idea that they're remaking the first game and then have to include Factions from part 1 as a remake as well. It's just
Yeah.
The next one comes by way of Sammy Barker over at Push Square, who says, promising PS4 exclusive Wild has been allegedly canned. Do you want to do that face again that you did? The story reads, let's not beat around the bush. Wild looks incredible. Wild looked incredible, I should say.
Yeah.
Just drive it in more, Dash. The ambitious open world helmed by Michael Ansel and his Wild Sheep studio was announced as a PlayStation 4 exclusive eons ago. But with the Rayman maker retiring from games and development, seemingly stalling for an entire generation, word is that it no longer exists. First, let's go to the source. The rumor comes courtesy of chatty VentureBeat scribe Jeff Grubb, Oh yeah. Speaking as part of his latest Giant Bomb podcast, the video is currently behind a paywall, but VGC quotes the alleged industry insider as claiming that the game is quote dead. He said, quote, the project got shut down. The team that was working on it was looking at maybe trying to stay together and work on other projects, end quote. The game was first announced at Gamescom in 2014, where it won our Game of the Award show, blah, 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 blah. Anyway.
This is one of those 3 games that I've been waiting just to hear any little bit of news on for like a long, long time.
I do remember when it was first announced and being very intrigued by its art style.
Yeah.
Now that it's gone, I mean, look, it's been too long. 2014.
There's something hilarious about Michel Ancel going on stage going, I will give you Wild, this new game presented by Sony, and then silence.
Sorry,
and then years later...
Michelle, yeah,
no, that's fine. And then years later, him going on stage going, I give you Beyond Good and Evil 2, this new game. And then silence. And then, I'm retiring from games. I'm going to go work in my... He's gone to go work in his... he works in like an animal refuge now.
What? For real?
Yes, for real. Yes.
What?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, when I mean he retired from games, I mean he left to go and like work in an animal home.
That's like the best.
Apparently that was his dream. There's some stuff that had come out about him since that I'm not too keen on about him.
Okay, fair enough.
You know, he was at Ubisoft for a very long time. But like not quite to that extent, but there are articles. People should go look at them.
Okay.
Allegedly. I don't know. I was very keen for this game when it first was announced, and it's nice to have closure, right? It's nice to know that it's gone and to stop hoping for it like I'm still hoping for Deep Down working title.
Well, it's funny. I wrote an article not that long ago about Tekken Cross Street Fighter, and then Harada finally came out and said it's dead. Like not even 2 weeks after I wrote that article, I'm like, "Where the fuck is this game?" And Harada comes in, it's dead. I'm like,
did he read your article?
Maybe. It's funny that it was just timed like that. Like I put out that article. It was our number 1 trending article on the website for like a month or so before he announced it. So.
Can you ask where Deep Down is?
I'm not even gonna bother. The last one comes by way. This ties into our last segment of the show, but this last piece of news comes by way of Robert Ramsey over at Push Square, who says Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut is superb, but Sony shouldn't be charging extra for PS5 upgrade. So half of this is news, and it seems like half of this is a bit
editorialization.
Yeah. And I will go into that. So we are going to be talking about Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut just after this. If you read our Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut review, you already know that we're big fans of the new Iki Island expansion. We go as far as to say that Jin's new offshore adventure is worth the price of admission alone. But the reality of the situation isn't so simple. Having played the entirety of the expansion on PlayStation 5, there's no question that Sony's overcharging for the next-gen upgrade, and it's not a good look. This whole debate exploded back when the Director's Cut was first announced. It should be the director. Anyway, I'm always editing their freaking articles.
Yeah, I know.
We penned a surprisingly controversial reaction article saying that Sony's approach to this particular upgrade was all wrong, and now we feel like the initial has been validated. Simply put, Sony shouldn't be charging extra for Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut PS4 to PS5 upgrade. The following features are exclusive to Director's Cut on PS5: slightly higher resolution, instant load times, DualSense controller haptic feedback, full Japanese lip sync. Essentially, Sony is saying that these exclusive features are worth the extra dosh. And to be fair, the haptic feedback is pretty cool, but there's no getting away from the fact that other developers have implemented the similar PS5 updates for free. Okay, so this starts getting into an opinion, and I'll get into mine. So the upgrade actually costed somewhere along the lines, I think it was $44.95 from the PlayStation Store, and that was a bit of an ask in terms of its fee.
Yeah.
So personally, here's how I feel. And actually, you know what? I might as well just kind of put put a little transition here. So let's jump into the review.
PlayStation.
So thanks to kind folk over at PlayStation Australia who provided a review code for Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut. So I got to take a look at it. And I got to tell you, first of all, gorgeous upgrades have been made to this. And as we just read in the article, fantastic in terms of the haptics that they included. Instant load times are there as well, which are a huge relief because load times were just something that was abysmal in the original release. And the Japanese lip sync, honestly, I haven't seen it because I play the game in English, so I haven't seen that yet. So
it's really good.
There you go.
It turns out it makes a giant difference to me in that game, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah.
Have you been playing in Japanese, have you?
Yes.
Oh, there you go. So myself and Jeremy got to sit down and check out some of the title. I haven't. Full disclosure, have not finished it yet. So once I do, I'll be reviewing
Neither
it.
have I.
So, but once again, thanks to PlayStation. So here's how I feel. Game looks excellent, plays excellently, performs phenomenally on the PS5. If anything, quite possibly one of PlayStation 5's most gorgeous upgrades available out there right now. Is it worth the $45 in terms of upgrades? Emphatically, no.
No, it's not.
The fact that we're looking at something that could have Final Fantasy VII Remake we just brought up before.
Sure.
Free upgrade for pre-existing owners.
Yes.
Not for PlayStation Plus subscribers, obviously, for obvious reasons, like that's just giving people the free goods. But essentially, Xbox does that regardless.
Yeah.
But for the fact that PlayStation took the initiative to charge pre-existing owners of the game who bought it at, full cost, because now, like, the price of gaming is kind of, elevated ever so slightly. I wouldn't say $45 worth. Part of me is like, man, as a reviewer, how do I sit here and rate this? Because it's gorgeous. Is it worth the money though? Iki Island is some great DLC as well. I sit here and I go, man, content out of this is fantastic, but not $45 worth. Where do I go about this?
Yeah. Sorry, really quick. Is it $45 or $30?
So $30 for the upgrade, $45 with the DLC.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So
is it even worth the $30 for the upgrade?
No. And to give the game, an immense amount of credit, it's because the game already looks really, really good.
I know.
It's like I was not even a huge fan of this game when it came out, but I'm playing this now on the PS5, going like, wow, I forgot how good this game looks, and it's really so vibrant, and the PS5 version is obviously even clearer because it's got a higher resolution, but like that game already looked great, and they already had there was already so many good enhancements that the PS4 backwards compatible version on the PS5 had.
Yeah.
I think is the strange thing about it is that, they added a 60 FPS mode for the backwards compatible PS4 version on the PS5.
Yeah.
And that which makes this upgrade feel a bit more minor. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I wholeheartedly agree with you. See, the thing is, I can understand them releasing the DLC, which if they said, okay, here's Iki Island DLC for $15. Cool. That's
a great price.
That is a fantastic price for that, right? If they turn around and said you get the upgrade and Iki Island for $20, perfect, on point. Yep. If anything, that's on point.
Yeah.
Right. $45 right now for this upgrade is way too much of an ask.
Yeah.
If I sit here and I like, as I said, reviewing the game at the moment and kind of playing through it and everything else, I'll give more final thoughts in a couple of weeks, but as of right now, my first impressions of sitting here and playing it and thinking of and having the price at the back of my mind more than anything right now, it's like because you sit there as a reviewer sometimes when you look at a price point and you sit there and go, okay, this is different because it's not usually how I would review a title, because everything usually that comes out at launch is the same price everywhere. Or if it's an indie title or something, that's got less inside of in this game, less content, it's priced lower. But recommended retail pricing in Australia sits at around $119.99, and if you go buy it at JB, it's like $89 at launch. So it is one of those things where I sit there and go, this game came out last year. It sat at $69 for its entirety, and then the content that comes out, the $20 content, there is no. Where's the margin lie here? Like, why would I pay $45 for graphical upgrade, load times, and the Iki Island DLC? It's way too much of an ask, because that's also, if I think about it now, I'm also paying for the Legends expansion too, when really it was free.
Yeah, and the also weirdly the Japanese lip sync not being in the PS4 version of the game is a weird one as well, because that's not like it's not like only through the power of the PlayStation 5 can you have Japanese
it's not a demanding
lip sync.
Yeah, it's not a demanding
No,
feature.
it's not. So like it's strange where they're drawing that line and then deciding the cost of it. It's a head scratcher. It's a really odd one. And it's not one I think that they landed barely.
No.
And especially because if you already own the game, you have a very good version of that game already. If it was a $10 upgrade, sure. Even if it was $30 with the DLC, sure. I could cop that.
Yeah.
But 30 without the DLC, 45 with, it's just too much.
I'm just quickly going to EB Games website at the moment, right? So the PS5 version of the Director's Cut sits at $124.95 recommended retail price. The PS4 version of the Director's Cut, $109. PS4. Right?
Yikes.
You worked at EB. You knew that a lot of titles when they launched on PlayStation 4 were $99.95 at launch.
Some of them, yeah. It depends.
Some started to come out later on in the life cycle, like $79, was it?
79, 89, I think was mostly, but EB price matched everywhere anyway.
Yeah, I know, JP makes that, and that's where I'm going next, right? So I go to here it is. So Director's Cut on PS5 at JB $109.
Sure.
Okay, that's PS5. Ghost of Tsushima. Here we go again. Ghost of Tsushima, currently the vanilla title on PS4, $59. Director's Cut on PS4, $89. Now,
right, yeah,
$89. I can cop that.
If you don't own the game at all, sure.
Yeah, on PS4 though, it doesn't come with the zero loading features.
Oh right, yeah.
So no zero loading feature. So are you telling me that zero load times is worth another $20 on top? No. You'd
have to be worth a lot of money for that to be worth it.
Yeah, I've already paid for the hardware that should be capable of doing that regardless. Yeah. My PlayStation has the NVMe hardware specialized for zero load times, right? I shouldn't have to pay for the software that enables that.
Yeah.
That's a bit much.
I also went through and like the Push Square article that we talked about earlier mentions it, but the Digital Foundry review on the upgrade and the comparison between the PS5 and the PS4 version, it's just resolution. There's no upgrade on shadow resolution. There's no upgrade on like foliage density. There's no upgrade on distance. What's it called? Like pop in, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And for the most part, like the game still looks incredible. Like the game totally is a gorgeous looking game.
Yeah.
But like I would have loved, more of an upgrade there. They have a performance mode which doesn't actually do anything. Because the game runs at 60 anyway. It's I don't actually understand the point of the performance mode in the PS5 version of the game.
I just don't understand how they could how Sony could seriously sit there and go, okay, PS5 owners will, okay, I hate to say it, but as a Sony fan, I'm a sheep. And if I didn't have the option, I probably would have bought it anyway. Because that's how I am, and also I run a website that I need to cover it anyway.
Yeah,
but
sure.
but also if I wasn't, I would have bought it regardless. Why? Right. Because I'm a shill. I don't like to give Sony my money and say it's worth it because I like it.
Right? Yeah, sure.
But when I look at it in a casual market scheme of things, I don't know how they could sell that.
No, I wasn't planning on buying it. And I, have a PlayStation water bottle right in front of me. I would be totally happy with the PS4 version of the game, because they already gave it like a sort of a little leg up when it was first backwards compatible. The PS5 version upgrade, the director's cut, it's just too minor for me to think about it.
PS4 version does not have the Japanese lip sync.
I don't understand why. That was actually a complaint I had with the original game. I had like this. I was thinking like, when I launched the game, it asked me, did I want to put it in English or in Japanese? And I was like, Japanese. And I was like, do you want Kurosawa mode or not? I was like, absolutely not. And and I put it in Japanese, and it was subtitled because I don't speak Japanese.
Yeah.
But all the lips were still saying the English words, and I was like, is there no option for this? It was like the first thing I thought when I launched the game. I'm shocked that wasn't just an update.
Yeah, so like there's no Japanese lip sync in the director's cut on PS4, and obviously the dual and the major one, the DualSense. Now I want to talk about the good stuff. Yeah. DualSense haptic feedback in this game, tremendous. I think it's like honestly on par with like there are 2 games on PlayStation 5 right now that I believe have mastered the haptics, and that is actually 3, and those are Astro's Playroom, Returnal, and Ratchet and Clank. This is up there with them.
I would put this one below those ones. But it's good. It's definitely good. The bow and arrow in this, so good with the haptics.
The retention on the triggers for that, oh man, it really does feel natural. And even just like riding the horse through the bristles of the grass and you're feeling it in the controller, it feels so lifelike in terms of like just I don't really know, like I don't know how they can pull it off. I remember when I played when I did play Astro's Playroom for the first time, and as you're playing as Astro, he runs along metal floor, tin floor, or glass and everything, right? You feel it.
Yeah.
Even walking around in this game, you feel the crunches of like just the muddiness and everything. I don't know, man. There was everything about this that made me feel like, okay, this is how you do haptics in an adventure game that they didn't do in like games like Spider-Man. I really feel like they did take it to the next level. $20 to the next level? Not so much.
No. I actually thought this one was a little bit more understated than that. The only time I specifically remember the haptics, which I enjoyed, was weather effects.
Yeah, that was another thing too.
And when you're on the horse, those ones specifically stood out to me. It's like, yeah, like this is good. Like they're doing a good job here. But it felt more understated. It didn't feel over the top. And that's because I think like Astro is like the upper echelon of how intense you want it to be.
Yeah, that's right.
Same with even like Demon Souls, like parrying in Demon Souls. There's like a good rumble in there.
You just feel it, the clangs.
Yeah, and I think that's because a lot of the combat in a game like Demon Souls is a lot slower. Whereas if you're parrying, getting that level of rumble every time in Ghost of Tsushima, your controller's gonna fall out of your hand. So I think it's good to have the haptics in this feel a little bit more, like you said, like part of the world. It's a little bit more like organic with like the world that you're in, which feeds back into the wind guiding you along your way and stuff like that. I think it's a pretty good amount, honestly.
Yeah. So I want to make this abundantly clear before we wrap this up. Anything that we've mentioned in terms of price, I don't want to make it negative because this game still demands your attention. It deserves it because Ghost of Tsushima was one of the best games to come out last year, and I understand now the concerns that a lot of people have been having, I've read it on social media, I've read it everywhere about the pricing, and we've just expressed our concerns here too, obviously having played it. Right now, where it sits in terms of price range, I don't know whether it's worth paying full price. I mean, look, I'll be honest with you, paying $125 for any game right now is just...
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just too much. It's
far too much.
At $89 or anything like that, I can say, okay, yeah, that's fine. Like, even the $109 mark is a comfortable spot to pay for a full price game if you don't own it already. But if you
it's brand new.
Yeah. But if you own Ghost of Tsushima and you've played Ghost of Tsushima already and are only contemplating going back for the Iki DLC, oh man, it's hard. It's really hard right now to kind of say a yes or a no because I haven't finished it. But
yeah,
I don't. Yeah, it's just I'm in a place where I don't know. So I've got to finish the game right now, and I'll finish it up within the next week or so before I can give you my final judgment. And we'll come back here in a couple of weeks' time on the podcast and give you our final thoughts. But it's still $45 is still a bit of an ask.
Yeah, it is. For a game that's a little over a year old, it is, which is unfortunate.
But once again, thank you to the kind folk over at PlayStation Australia who provided a review code for myself and Jeremy to check out the game. All right, Jez, it is time for the drop. What do we got this week?
So we have a giant list of games.
Nice.
Thankfully, that are coming out. First off, we have King's Bounty 2 on PS4 coming out today.
Yes.
August 24th. I Expect You to Die 2, The Spy in the Lair coming to PSVR August 24th, as well as Hoa on August 24th, also coming to PS5. And also Aliens Fireteam Elite is finally coming out to PS4 and PS5 August 24th. August 25th, tomorrow for us, is Psychonauts 2 Day. You have mentioned on the past podcasts how much you love Double Fine, so I'm sure I'm very excited to hear how you think about it.
I'm currently playing that on Xbox Series X. So
we have Baldo, the Guardian Owls,
nice.
On August 27 on PS4, as well as Tormented Souls on PS5, August 27th as well.
Yeah.
We have Rustler. We have
Kevwee?
Kiwi.
Oh, Kiwi. Oh, that's
and Monster right, Kiwi. Oh, I know Kiwi. Kiwi's gorgeous. You should look at Kiwi. Yep. If it's a game, I think it is. Mm-hmm. As well as Monster Harvest and The Big Con, all coming to PlayStation. The Big Con coming to PlayStation? Maybe it isn't. Maybe cut that out.
I guess so. The Big Con's coming to PlayStation. No, it's not. We left it in there by accident. That's all right.
Left that in there by accident. That's fine.
For those who are interested,
Kiwi and Monster Harvest all coming August 31st.
Yep.
WRC 10, PS4, PS5, September 2nd with Rico London on PS4, or also September 2nd. Golf Club Wasteland, PS4, September 3rd with Kitaria Fables, also coming PS4 as well as PlayStation 5. Sonic Colors Ultimate, PS4, September 7. A lot of people very excited for that one.
Yeah.
As well as Fist Forged in Shadow Torch, PS4 and PS5, September 7. You know what I love about doing the drop? That there are so many games that I'm reading their names and seeing for the first time going, I wonder what the hell that is.
I love doing
Fist.
the drop, man.
Fist Forged in Shadow Touch. No.
Oh, Fist is it's that ninja karate. I don't know. You're probably gonna have to look it up yourself. But I just had a look at Kiwi. Is this? And I think you are thinking of the one. It's by Sold Out. Stoneware and Sons.
Yes.
Yep,
Yes.
that's the one. Yeah. So that'll be out. It does look really good too.
It's cute.
It's got very nice art style to it. That's for sure. It reminds me of a Octodad Cross, Firewatch kind of style to it.
A little bit, yeah.
Looks very cool. But that's it for the drop this week, you guys. Guys, if you didn't know, this has been Operation PlayStation, Gamer.com's dedicated PlayStation podcast, where we dive deep and dirty and discover what the latest and greatest PlayStation have to offer in 2021. If you like what you heard today, you can follow Mr. Jeremy Braditich over at Twitter at Obi-Wan Jez, wrong one. You can follow... It's the other one, Jez.
The other one.
The other hand. Every week.
I think because I lean on my left hand.
You can follow myself on Twitter at @DashGame. And don't forget to follow the show over on SoundCloud, iTunes. No, sorry. Anchor, Apple Podcasts, my God, and Spotify. Give us cheeky 5-star ratings. They surely help us out. And also catch the VOD over on dashgamer.com. And on YouTube, subscribe, hit that bell, give us a like, leave us a comment, make us your number one PlayStation destination in Australia. What a show. Like, honestly, again, we've made it to like about an hour 25 or so.
Yeah.
And we thought, oh man, this show's going to be dry.
We know how to talk nonsense.
Hey, dude, you know what? I'm happy because it was actually an extraordinary
it was real fun.
Show because we got a lot out of what was here. So I'm happy with that. So
yeah, me too.
Guys, we'll see you in another 2 weeks. But until then, this operation is complete.
dashgamer.com